What do meetings and cookies have in common? I'm going to make the argument that meetings are actually really similar to emotional eating, and here's why. So, cookies. Nothing wrong with cookies. I have no problem with cookies. Love cookies, but I like to use them as an example because it's something that a lot of times people use as a way to emotionally regulate. So we eat high sugar, high carb, high fat as a way to kind of change the neurochemical composition of our minds and our bodies to feel better. It's very well documented. It's a normal kind of coping mechanism. It might not be the most optimal coping mechanism, but it is fairly common. So most people understand this. So, you feel overwhelmed, you don't want to do something, maybe you feel like you haven't been making as much progress as you've wanted in whatever you're working on. And so some people will, they'll eat for emotional reasons. They'll eat to make themselves feel better. Okay. So meetings are actually similar. And not all meetings, obviously, because there's also people who eat cookies just for enjoyment. And that happens quite a bit, and that's very normal as well. But meetings can also be an emotion regulation technique in a lot of organizations, because oftentimes we're tasked with something ambiguous. We're tasked with something hard. We feel like we're not making progress in it, and we don't know if we're going to accomplish it. And that feels bad. Like, that does not feel good. The human mind does not like that. The human mind does not like ambiguity. It does not like any time where we don't perceive a clear reward, and it does not like when we perceive a lot of effort. This is like a recipe for emotional disaster. And so what do we do to make ourselves feel better? We schedule a meeting because A, it gets us to interact socially with people, which is positive. And then B, it also makes us feel like we're making progress. Like, oh, we're going to talk about these things and then we're going to make progress. But you might not actually be making progress, and you're just trying to make yourself feel better. You're trying to make yourself feel like you're making progress. And I'm not saying all meetings are bad. And I'm not saying all cookies are bad. But I am saying that both of these are used as emotion regulation techniques. And the problem is that when the person doesn't realize that they're using them as an emotion regulation technique, you really need to be able to be honest with yourself when you're using something as emotion regulation and when you're using it as, like a intelligent strategy, or when you're, just eating cookies because they taste good. And that's the key difference. And so a lot of meetings in organizations are an emotional regulation strategy. And that might not be the best use of meetings. That is not the best use of other people's time. And if we could address the emotion regulation issue, that would be a much more efficient strategy in helping them progress in whatever goal or whatever project they're working on, instead of just creating more meetings.